S.A. Bharadwaj, respected Dr. R. Chidambaram, Honorable Vice Chancellor HBNI Professor U. Kamachi Mudli, Dr. A.K. Anand, family and friends of Dr. Sekhar Basu, respected Dean HBNI Professor A.K. Tyagi, Registrar HBNI Professor P.C. Selvin, Associate and Assistant Deans of HBNI, senior faculty members, HBNI staff members, students, ladies and gentlemen, as well as all of those who have joined us online today. A very good morning to all of you. As you know, we have all gathered here today to attend the Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Program, which has been organized by HBNI. We extend our sincere and heartfelt thanks to our esteemed chief guest, Sri S.A. Bharadwaj, who has generously accepted our invitation and agreed to deliver a talk on this occasion. Now, great personalities do not need an introduction. Their inspirational stories are told across generations. And so was the status of Dr. Sekhar Basu in the DA fraternity. He was a great visionary, an exemplary leader, as well as an accomplished engineer. Dr. Basu held many important positions in DAE, such as the director of BARC, chairman of the Indian Atomic Energy Commission, and secretary to the Government of India. In all these capacities, he worked tirelessly to accelerate the pace and speed of the nuclear power deployment in India. With these few words, I would now request Dean HPNI, Professor A.K. Tyagi, to deliver the formal welcome address.
Respected Shri S.A. Bharadwaj, former Chairman AERB, Chief Guest and Speaker of today's function. Respected Dr. R. Chidambaram, former Chairman AC, Secretary DAE and PSA to Prime Minister. Very glad to welcome Mrs. Devarati Basu, wife of our respected beloved colleague Dr. Sekhar Basu, Mrs. Dol Basu, sister of Dr. Sekhar Basu, Mrs. Manasi Chakrabarti, the family friend, respected Dr. A.K. Anand, Honorable Vice Chancellor HBNI, Professor U. Kamachi Mudli. I see in audience Shri D. Das, former Director RRCAT, Dr. Arup Bandhopadhyay, who is representing VECC. Colleagues from HBNI Central Office, I heartily welcome you all to this special program organized in the memory of Dr. Sekhar Basu, former Chairman, Atomic Energy Commission. It was not built in a day. This is something which aptly applicable on DAE. When Dr. Bhabha returned to India in 1939 and could not go back because First World War II started on 1st September 1939, he chose to stay in India, joined ISC Bangalore. Subsequently, from there, he had set up TIFR on June 1st, 1945. And as you know, rest is the history. He was instrumental in getting an Atomic Energy Act passed on 10th of August, 1948. Dr. Bhabha, a great son of India, when country was not making bicycles, I am borrowing from Dr. Chidambaram sir, this statement, he dreamt of making nuclear power plant. Such was his vision. Nowadays, we talk about net zero. Young friends, let me once again welcome you all from NPCIL and other divisions of BARC. It is not possible to achieve net zero without nuclear. We can have separate debate on that as and when need arises. By now, nuclear power generation has already saved close to 700 million tons of carbon dioxide. And as we know, this is the golden era of DAE. Every now and then you come across so many good news. Last week itself, you found a news on RAPP 7 becoming critical. 8 also is at the verge of criticality. In coming months, we are also going to witness a landmark event of criticality of PFBR. So when we were discussing in central office about this program, both VC sir and me and other colleagues thought, who could be better than our respected Shri S.A. Bharadwaj sir to deliver this special lecture? Here is a person who has vast experience of close to 5 decades from both the ends of nuclear power, from reactor designer, operator, NPCL point of view, and also regulator. Sir, your rich experience is something which we all are looking forward to get enriched. Today, as you know, he's going to talk on Indian nuclear power program, past, present, and future. With these few words, let me once again thank all the dignitaries present here, all the young students, colleagues from HBNI and elsewhere to this program on the occasion of Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Day. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very warm welcome. May I now request Honorable Vice Chancellor HBNI? Okay. Dr. Basu is not with us in his bodily form. However, his fond remembrance will remain with us forever. We at HBNI have compiled his journey through DAE in the form of photographs. I request our IT team to play the compilation and take us through the memory lane of Dr. Basu. Please. Thank you, IT team, for this beautiful compilation. Moving forward in the welcome ceremony, now may I request Honorable Vice Chancellor HBNI to present a bouquet of flowers to our chief guest, Shri S.A. Bharadwaj. So may I now request you to present a floral bouquet to Dr. R. Chidambaram. The further request to do the honors to Mrs. Basu. Please welcome her with the floral bouquet as well. We have with us Dr. A.K. Anand also. We would like to greet and welcome him also with the floral bouquet. Thank you very much, sir, for doing the honors. May I now request Professor Mudli and Shri Bharadwaj to pay our respect and tribute to Dr. Basu on behalf of all of us. So you may also. May I now request Honorable Vice Chancellor Professor Mudli to deliver the presidential address and introduce the speaker for the day.
Respected chief guest for the 4th Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Program, Sri Shiv Ablas Bharadwaj, Honorable Dr. Chidambaram Sir, former Secretary DAE and Chairman Atomic Energy Commission, Dr. Anand, Dr. Das, Mrs. Basu and family and friends, distinguished colleagues from HPNI, from all the CIs and OCC, special invitees and students. Very warm welcome to all of you for the 4th Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Program. HPNI has been conducting this event starting with 2021. Dr. V.K. Saraswat, member Niti Aayog as the first speaker, followed by Dr. K. Kasturi Rangan, former chairman ISRO and member Atomic Energy Commission as the second speaker. And last year we had Sri S.K. Sharma, former CMD of NPCL. And I am very proud that today we have with a dear colleague of Dr. Sekhar Basu, Sri S.A. Bharadwaj, former chairman of AERB. Indeed, himself and Dr. Sekhar Basu, they took the highest position, that he took over as the chairman AERB, and Dr. Sekhar Basu took over as the secretary DA almost September and October 2015. And it was a very memorable period for DAE with respect to several achievements. And I'm very proud that Dr. Sri Bharadwaj accepted our request to deliver this fourth Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Lecture. And he will be speaking on Indian Nuclear Power Program, past, present and future. My pleasant duty to also, before we go into the program, for the benefit of the young colleagues here, Dr. Sekhar Basu, a renowned nuclear scientist, was chairman, Atomic Energy Commission and secretary to the Government of India, DAE, from October 2015 to September 2018. Prior to his assumption as charge as secretary DAE, he was holding the position of director, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, from June 2012 to October 2015. Earlier, he worked as project director of Nuclear Submarine Program and later as the chief executive of the Nuclear Recycle Board of BRC. Dr. Basu, a dynamic engineer of exceptional abilities, played a major role in establishing India as a lead country in various domains of nuclear science and engineering during his tenure. Dr. Basu, born in 1952 at Muzaffarpur in Bihar, did his schooling from Balikunj Government School, Calcutta, and graduated in mechanical engineering from VJTI University of Mumbai in 1974. After completion of 1-year BRC training school program in nuclear science and engineering, he took up the responsibility of the development of nuclear submarine propulsion plant and was responsible for achieving success in the same. Subsequently, Dr. Basu took up activities related to India's nuclear recycle plants. Under his leadership, the plant operations were streamlined, and based on operational experience, he took up a very major challenge of design and construction of integrated nuclear recycle plant, INRP, which is the first of its kind in India. His untiring efforts in this field have brought perfection in technology and given major boost to the program. Dr. Basu also accelerated the pace of Indian nuclear power deployment, uranium exploration and mining, and healthcare and mega science projects. He played a key role in obtaining government approvals for 10 numbers of pressurized seawater reactors and 2 numbers of pressurized water reactors. This is a major boost towards increase of installed capacity of nuclear power stations, and the fruit of this is being seen today with a large number of reactors being commissioned one by one. Dr. Basu was an extremely competent technologist with an ability to integrate multidisciplinary activities and develop multiple state-of-the-art technology systems. He was awarded Padma Shri by the Government of India in 2014. One of the last projects in which he had taken keen interest was to develop the technology of cyclotron for medical isotope production. Dr. Basu passed away in the early hours of 24 September 2020 in a hospital in Kolkata while he was undergoing treatment for COVID-19. Unfortunately, this has happened during the COVID, and every year, starting 2021, HPNI is perpetuating its memory by organizing this memorial program. I'm very proud that this year we have the speaker, Sri Shiv Abhilash Bharadwaj. He's a mechanical engineer from the Delhi College of Engineering, Delhi University. He passed out in the year 1970 and joined the 14th batch of BRC training school. After successfully completing this, he was appointed in the Design Office of Power Project Engineering Division of DAE, which has over the years become the Nuclear Power Corporation of India, a public sector unit. He also did the MTech program in Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. He retired at the age of 64 as Distinguished Scientist of DAE and Director Technical and member of the board of NPCIL. He has also held the positions of Chairman, Nuclear Fuel Complex Board, Hyderabad, and Chairman of Board of Directors of Anusakti Vidyut Nizam Limited. During his long career in NPCL, he has been associated with the design and engineering of THWRs in India. For a major part of his career, Sri Bharadwaj has been associated with nuclear fuel design activities. He is among the first set of pioneers who took up the power reactor fuel design and engineering activities indigenously. Sri Bharadwaj has been an important member of nuclear safety design and its review process. He has been representing India in various international fora, including the IAEA meeting, World Association of Nuclear Operators, etc. He was appointed as the chairman of Atomic Energy Regulatory Board on 1st September 2015, and as chairman, his scope of work covered regulating all nuclear and radiation facilities in the country. In addition to the radiation facilities across the country like industrial, medical, research, security, and other commercial uses of radiation sources and radiation generating equipment. I am proud to tell you that he was awarded with Distinguished Service Award by the Alumni Association of Delhi College of Engineering, NPCL's Outstanding Performance Award, Indian Nuclear Society Award, and Lifetime Achievement Award by the Indian Nuclear Society. He is also a fellow of the Indian National Academy of Engineering. Currently, Sri Bharadwaj is associated with the Ministry of Environment and Forests as chairman of a committee of environment appraisal of certain types of national projects. We are very proud, sir, that you have accepted our invitation to deliver the 4th Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Lecture, and welcome to this program.
Thank you, sir, for the introductory remark. Now, may I request Shri Bharadwaj to deliver his talk. Over to you, sir, please.
Right somewhere. Well, I must profusely thank you for including me in this program, because I've been very close to Dr. Sekhar Basu. In fact, quite late, we were one day discussing how our journey started, and we concluded that we are actually isotopes. And he started working on fuel in BRC, on research reactors and Tarapur 1 and 2, which was being done by BRC. And I was working on PHWR fuel, which was being developed and tested. It was being fabricated in BRC. It was being tested, type testing done. And we had a common guru, Dr. Anand. That is how our journey started. And even though she shifted to an area which was quite exclusive, but then as luck would have it, we again came together. I became part of the regulating team for his project. When it was close to, the whole thing was getting integrated and the final stages of design review and then commissioning. And, that interaction has been quite prolonged for his projects, both at Kalpakkam and later on at Visakhapatnam. And then so happened that DAE had asked me to review the total 3-stage program, which are the missing links and which need to be strengthened and all that. And then we found that it is the reprocessing part and waste management part which need to be. And we found that Sekhar Basu is there. And he had a bigger plan than what we could think of. And he implemented, we have all been witnessing this. And then on, as chairman, he became chairman, AEC there, and we were together in the international arena, but on attending different meetings. Me as a regulator and he was on the other meetings. If I go on discussing about Dr. Sekhar Basu, it is going to be very long. Today I'm privileged to have you as my audience around me here, but the way I have prepared this lecture is not for you. Not for you at all. Because being in HBNI and going around to various locations of HBNI, recently I was at VCC and we had a full session with the fresh people who have joined PhD. So this lecture is actually addressed to fresh people who are joining our training facilities at various locations, because you know it. You, in fact, Dr. Chidambaram, he is master of all this. So this lecture, I will excuse me, is not meant for you. It is meant for the fresh people who have joined recently. And therefore, it is oversimplified picture. That has been our strength, sir. Down arrow. See, before you get into a journey, and this is a journey of nuclear power program, you must see what you need for this journey to be completed. So you need fuel, because this is going to be a different type of technology. The fuels which are traditionally used will not work here. And you need a sustainable plan to use this fuel. And then you need experts in the science and technology of executing this plan. And therefore, those experts will need research institutions, research and development institutions, experimental facilities which should include facilities where they can demonstrate their capabilities, which means nuclear research reactors, a smaller version of nuclear power plants. And above all, you need to understand safety from a new type of pollution, which is radiations, and how to manage that, what we call the health physics. Since we are dealing with a new type of activity, it is not the normal corrosive activity as chemical people will feel. So you need some different materials also. You need nuclear materials, you need different type of control and instrumentation facilities. And ultimately, how do you manage the waste, the radioactive waste? So all these are to be plugged in before you get into this journey. And that is what our friend Professor Tyagi just now mentioned. This was the man who did all this. And he has told briefly his story, born on 30th October 1909, schooled in Bombay. And at 16 plus age, he was asked to go to Cambridge to do mechanical engineering, which he did not like. And there is a big communication between him and his father. He wanted to do science, but his family said no, do mechanical engineering, join Tata Iron and Steel. But he insisted. And the negotiated settlement was that he will first do mechanical engineering. If he does it very successfully, then he can have his own way. And he had. In fact, if I go on, it will be a lecture by itself. So my most favorite book about him is Bhabha and his Magnificent Obsessions. I would suggest that you please go through this book. It is available in our libraries in plenty. But as was mentioned, he came back to India after he got his PhD in 1935, and 4 years he worked there, published some 15 papers. But internationally, he was in touch with the people who have actually made the first reactor. For me, Niels Bohr and Pauli and so on, so many people. So he was very well known also for his work in the international arena at that time. And that was a great time for revolution in physics. Many new things happened. And when he came back to India in 1939 for a short break, he decided not to go back for certain reasons. And one of the major reasons was that he did, why not do science in India? And India was not free. It was not an independent country. So he had to take support from a trust, Sir Dorabji Trust for starting nuclear research in India. And rest is history. In 1945, Tata Institute of Fundamental Research was set up in a small building, small location with the support of this trust. And India became independent. 1948, Atomic Energy Act was enacted. And Atomic Energy Commission was constituted soon thereafter. It was in 1954, Department of Atomic Energy was created formally. You must remember this date as we go further. So we said fuel is required. So the natural resources for nuclear power are uranium and thorium. These are the materials which can be directly used or they can be converted to a better material. We will see shortly. when we talk of natural uranium, there is only a small fraction in the nature, less than 1%, 0.7%, which is actually the fuel. And the remaining more than 99% is what can be converted to fuel if we somehow bombard it with neutrons and make it absorb some neutrons. So this is the material, fuel material we have. And in 1951, uranium was discovered in India at Jadugoda, that time in Bihar, and Atomic Mineral Division found it out. And then 1959 in BRC, Bhabha Atomic Research Center, that time it was called Atomic Energy Establishment Trombay, uranium metal plant was set up to produce uranium out of that ore, which is very lean in uranium, but it was produced for the first time. And immediately later, the first lot of fuel elements for Cyrus reactors were fabricated at Trombay. So the fuel was available. And we decided that for Cyrus reactor, which came from Canada, the design and details were Canadians, that we will load first half charge, half of the fuel will be Indian fuel. And thereafter, it has been always Indian. BRC has been producing fuel for research reactors thereafter. In 1959, uranium production was not a textbook information, but it was done by Indian scientists. And Atomic Fuel Division, BRC, produced finished fuel for research reactors. And later on, they also produced fuel for the first PHWR in India. We'll come to that. Thorium is the other fuel material. It is not having any fuel component at all as given in the nature, but it is fertile. It can absorb neutrons and get converted to fuel material. And again, just like uranium, 1950, Indian Rare Earths was formed and rare earth plants were set up at different locations. And thorium plant of Trombay starts production. When we look at the minerals available, it also has plenty of zircon, which also is the material required for nuclear power plants. Zirconium alloys, which strength-wise are as good as stainless steel, but they are transparent to neutrons. They permit neutrons to pass through without wasting them. So it becomes a very important material, which was also being produced by Indian Rare Earths and then processed separately. So, and since we talked of fertile material very quickly, a fertile material is the one, which means uranium-238, which is more than 99% in uranium, natural uranium, and thorium. If they absorb neutrons, they will convert it to fissile material. And that is a boon, natural boon available, provided you can have some neutrons. And you cannot avoid, if you are putting uranium in the reactor, you will definitely have to put accompanied with uranium-238 and fuel is created. So nuclear reactors not only produce energy, they can produce more fuel. And therefore, the plan, we said you need fuel. And once you know understand your fuel, you need a plan. And this is a plan he drawn as early as 1955-56. So he understood the fuel. Within 1 year or 2 years, he was clear what India should be doing. Uranium, which will produce power, of course, it has 0.7% naturally available fuel material, and remaining some equivalent or lower portion can be converted to plutonium, which is, if bombarded by fast neutrons, fast high energy neutrons, can breed fuel. It will produce power and ultimately end up producing more plutonium than you had put in. And therefore, this next stage is breeder reactors, he said. We will start with uranium, the first stage, produce plutonium, and the unused uranium, which is called depleted uranium, will be passed on to the next stage of reactors, which will have fast neutron flux, the neutrons at high energy, and breed more fuel, breed more plutonium. And this gives a multiplying effect to what we did in stage one. And this can be multiplied to the extent the country needs. Today, we know that to beat the carbon dioxide, we have to produce more nuclear power. And therefore, stage two is the backbone. Is the backbone which will solve this problem. And today we are into it, as we will shortly see. Now, thorium, which doesn't have any fissile material at all, if we can convert it to uranium to 233, but we'll have to invest some neutrons into this. In nuclear reactors, the currency is neutrons. So you have to decide where you want to use the neutrons to produce more plutonium or uranium 233 and power. And therefore, the best way is to use thorium towards the end of stage 2. When you are saturated with the power requirement you want to produce, put thorium in the reactors, produce uranium 233. And uranium 233 is a material, artificially produced man-made material, which gives similar properties in thermal reactors, which are using the present reactors, as well as in the fast flux. And therefore, the choice of reactors which can be made in the third stage is large. And we have very large amount of thorium available with us. The next thing he said is experts. And in 1957, the initial experts came mostly his people from TFR, and he got people from all over the world, Indians working elsewhere or in the universities. He got them into India, and they worked. And if we look back, they worked in very difficult conditions and at some disadvantage financially when they came back to India, but they did serve the country. And in 1957, he started the training school. The picture on the left shows the training school which I joined in 1971. And this is today's HBNI. So he produced the experts and the research facilities, R&D. AET was set up, and which had at various times different research facilities. Apsara coming up in 1956, just see 2 years after DAE was made. Zerlina, 1961, which is a reactor where a lot of physics experiments could be done. And in 1960, Cyrus reactor attained criticality. So at what speed he made these facilities? Just see, within 6 years, the facilities were ready. Not only the facilities were ready, he produced a lot of material for these facilities in India, including the fuel for Cyrus reactor. The speed also needs to be appreciated. Then heavy water. His long-term plan included heavy water reactors. So heavy water production started at Nangal in 1962. Dr. Grover will remember that is in the engineering college, we were taken to this facility and shown heavy water plant. That time we were not knowing that we'll have to deal with this material later. So at Nangal, a small plant, I think it was 12 tons, was established as it was sort of by extension of the existing fertilizer plant there. The next part is, what do you do with the waste? We call it waste, but he said, no, it has precious materials like plutonium and unused uranium. So he established, through the research reactors which were in operation, a reprocessing facility in BRC. That picture shows the reprocessing facility at the bottom. And we separated out the waste, which is very small quantity. We'll come to it later on. And started accumulating plutonium and unused uranium. All this before the nuclear power program was launched. So what needs to be appreciated, that whatever is required for launching nuclear power program, he first worked on all those elements and in great detail. The research facilities which are set up, its physics was done by BRC people those days. The operations was done by BRC people. Construction of Cyrus and all the reactors was done by our people. So they gained overall experience on end-to-end how to build a nuclear facility. The rest is conventional plant. When you generate power, making electricity out of it is conventional part. But the total nuclear part, up to the waste management, was fully understood, fully captured before he launched nuclear power program. And the first stage of program. He started with these two plants. At Tarapur, 1963, an agreement with USA for Tarapur 1 and 2, BWR, boiling water reactors of 210 megawatt capacity, which started commercial operation in 1969. These were turnkey bases. We did not have any participation in the design, in the construction. Yes, our people were there, but the responsibility was fully with USA, that company, to supply. the first criticality and thereafter the operations was done by India. The fuel fabrication also started for this. Very small quantity of fuel was required, but fabrication facilities were also set up later within India. At that time, this was the largest unit size in the country. Power generating. The thermal power units were some 35 megawatts or so. And 210 megawatt plant was very difficult for the grid to handle. So we learned a lot through this experience of operating, how to manage the delivery of electricity, how to restart the plants quickly. In parallel, with the gap of couple of years, he initiated what pressurized heavy water reactors, what was CANDU, Canada uranium reactors, in technical cooperation with AECL, Atomic Energy of Canada Limited. This was a different type of cooperation. They were also constructing at that time a similar unit in their country, Douglas Point. And our people from India, our experts from India participated in that construction, in the commissioning. They participated in the design activities also. Many of the design manuals have authors from India. And so we had direct exposure to how a nuclear power plant is to be built. And then the first unit was commissioned in 1973. Now you see, during this time, which dates I am giving, 63, both these things he started in 65. But unfortunately, this happened. We lost him. And this is barely 11, 12 years after DAE was formed. You just see what all has been done. And people who have seen BRC, the buildings constructed, huge. In 12 years he could do, and Dr. Tyagi mentioned that country, the resources were limited. And still, he could achieve wonders. And today also it is, I think it is beyond imagination how he could do all this. But by this time, he has put us on very firm footing. And this was revealed. Many things which were on the blueprint at that time were converted to regular industrial activities by Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, who followed at very fast pace again. And in addition to Jadugoda, which I mentioned in the beginning, today 6 more mines are operating in the similar area around that with 2 reprocessing plants. We have a big mine and with a lot of potential in Andhra Pradesh, Tumlapalli, which is operating. Nuclear fuel complex was set up to manufacture fuel. It took up the baton from AFD, Atomic Fuel Division, for manufacturing fuel. It manufactured fuel both for Tarapur 1 and 2 and PHWR. And today it's a huge facility. It has spread to another location at Kota to manufacture fuel and meet the demand of fuel. Electronics Corporation of India Limited, because we need special control and instrumentation for nuclear power plants, radiation monitoring and detection systems, computerized operator information system, programmable logic controllers, which have been done. Perhaps ahead of the world, we have used these facilities. And they do some other things for the nation, which I need not mention. Well, if I go on, many things. Heavy water, for example, not only Nangal, number of plants have been set up at number of locations, and we produce heavy water and other products. Heavy water has also taken initiative to meet variety of demands of atomic energy, particularly in chemical solvents. Very difficult to produce solvents which were denied to us by foreign countries are being produced by heavy water group people here, heavy water board, and it has done wonderfully well. Even enriched uranium, which we need for fast reactors, is being produced by them. And there are other facilities which I will not, I think I will spend more time. For example, reprocessing plant, not only BRC, they were set up at other locations in an industrial manner, and they were operating well. So there are many other facilities were set up. And therefore, this Indian pressurized heavy water reactors, which is the present, has been launched. It was launched, as I said, with the help of AECL, Atomic Energy Canada Limited, and the first unit went into full commercial operation in December 1973. But then soon thereafter, next year, this is what happened. We got cut off from the world. and that is Pokhran peaceful nuclear explosion. Dr. Chidambaram is here. So we got cut off totally. We were depending on, I remember since I was part of this, any small design change also if we do in RAPS units, we'll have to send it to the details to Canada and they will approve it. And they were in our office, they will approve it. Unless they approve, we cannot implement. And for any material change, any small procurement also, their signatures were necessary. But they left suddenly. Similarly, Tarapur 1 and 2, the physics support, where to load the fresh fuel, the physics, control rod movement, everything they used to tell us. And they left. The next day I went to office, there were no Canadians who they did not turn up, and we have never seen them again. But the strength which was built is such that none of the plants was shut down even for a day. Even for a day. We started doing the physics ourselves. We started doing the quality control. They were doing quality control on our equipment. We started doing it ourselves without them. And nothing got stopped. And we have progressed thereafter. Yes, because of sudden cutoff, there were certain things which are in pipeline for the next projects. They slightly affected us, but then it added to a lot of strength. And thereafter, we built Madras units 1 and 2, which are more or less repeating RAPS 1 and 2 with some additional power. The physics has been modified to produce 10% more power there. And therefore, the heat transfer systems, etc., have been improved. There have been changes in containment system, etc. But then the total change took place in Narora 1 and 2. It was decided that finally we have to go to large reactors, and these small reactors and large reactors have different configurations. Narora 1 and 2, every system has been redesigned. There is no congruence between at the component level or at the system level between Narora units and Madras units. It's 100% Indian design, and this was a time when internationally the safety regulations became very clear. IAEA started issuing, International Atomic Energy Agency started issuing safety documents, and they have been followed in Narora 1 and 2, 100%. And it was also checked that in past units also we are meeting them. Wherever we are not meeting, we have modified the past units also. So this is our first standardized plant, and then they were repeated in Kakrapar 1 and 2 with some further modifications to make it commercial and for convenience of maintenance and construction. The design was slightly modified, and we are doing very well in all these plants today. Then came 540 megawatt, larger size units at Tarapur 3 and 4, where the R&D facilities and BRC, they made so many mock-up facilities that conducted the experiments, full-size experiments, that these plants could be built in the given time of 5 years, in the given cost, and went first time right. In 2004, 2005, 2 units came. First time right, it's a actually great achievement of our R&D facilities, that total new design has gone first time right. And now it has been upgraded to 700 megawatts, which was again mentioned. 3 of the units, Kakrapar 3 and 4 and RAPP 7 are, Kakrapar 3 and 4 are operating. Last month, they achieved a capacity factor of 94%. RAPP 7 has gone critical and is undergoing regulatory review, will be very soon on power. RAPP 8 will follow in another 1 year. And then 10 units are under construction, which was Dr. Basu's dream. This is what he got approved during his tenure. And today they are at various stages of construction. And then hereafter, a lot of 700 megawatt units are being planned. So this is where we are in first stage, and we are fully indigenous, all equipment manufacturing, all design, all construction, all operation. All the equipment is made by Indian industries. All the construction is done by Indian contractors very successfully. And we have within DAE all these, what is required to run these plants, operate these plants, refurbish and modernize their waste management, plant life extensions, and even decommissioning. So the full strength has been built on the basis of the strong base which Dr. Bhava gave in a very short time. But then we need a lot of power, and there are additionalities. Large size of light water reactors, if they are available internationally, along with the fuel, has been welcome. And two 1,000 megawatt units obtained from Russian Federation are in operation at Kudamkulam, and 4 more units at the same site of same capacity are in construction stages. And the discussions are on with certain US vendors and French vendors for larger sizes of plants. So these will be our additionalities. And increasingly, the Indian participation, though in these plants, the construction, commissioning, operation is fully by India. And increasingly, the equipment supply is also coming from India now. So that is in short about the first stage. And we are fully matured. We are operating at capacity factors. Annual capacity factors are around 85% today for all these plants. Last month's report, if we see, 3 units were under shutdown for during maintenance, but all other units were operating at capacities beyond 90%. Next is, and that is the backbone of our plan, making fast breeder reactors, fast neutron use for breeding more fuel as well as producing power. And right now we are entering into this stage. But as it happened for first stage, where the research reactors were made first, understood the technology, and then we moved on to the commercial. Same thing happened here also. The plutonium which was created through research reactors in BRC was available, and a experimental facility has been set up. Initially, the work was being carried out in BRC in a small group, but then as the time came for setting up a full plant, a center was set up. It was called Reactor Research Center to start with, and now it is called Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, IGCAR. It was established in 1971, and it extends the work which was initiated in BRC for this program. The fast reactors differ from the current first generation water reactors because they use fast neutrons and use plutonium and uranium. The fuel has different behavior. The fast neutrons interact with the materials in a different manner. They will damage the material more. The temperatures are high. The 540 degrees Celsius is the coolant temperature against 300 degrees Celsius for PHWRs. The should remain fast. Therefore, nowhere in the reactor there should be any scope for any water which will slow down the neutrons. And therefore, liquid metal, sodium at present, is being used as the cooling medium for fuel. Sodium, as you know, liquid sodium is reactive. It will react with moisture, it will react with air very readily. And therefore, 1,000 ton and more sodium which is circulating in the system has to be very well protected, that it does not interact with oxygen, it does not interact with moisture at all. The materials are different. Safety considerations also are slightly different in these reactors. So all these need to be understood and developed. And therefore, a fast breeder test reactor has been operating since 1985. This came up with the support of French. But then, as you know, that we got this, dislocated, and we were separate from the international arena. And a lot of things had to be done ourselves. And when it came to fuel, the fuel for this reactor was a challenge to make in India. And again, our research teams, our metallurgy and fuel groups, they come up with a very novel idea of using a different type of fuel, which is very unique. Carbide fuel using a lot of plutonium, about 70% plutonium and 30% uranium. And we are operating with this fuel. The fuel is being manufactured in BRC, and this reactor has been operating successfully for all these years. It is being used, it has been used extensively for testing equipment, control and instrumentation features, and many new types of fuels for future use. For the present and for the future use, which we'll be shortly talking, we are today working towards a metallic fuel for fast reactors, against carbide or oxide fuels, because metallic fuel will give higher breeding, which is our ultimate aim for the second stage. This reactor is also being used today to produce isotopes for medical use. And based on this experience of handling large amount of sodium, how to operate, how to maintain systems which use sodium, and the fast flux, these materials, a 500 megawatt prototype fast breeder reactor is today ready, as was told again by Dr. Tyagi. The fuel is being loaded and it will take, process is very gradual, with a lot of regulatory checks in between, and it will go critical, hopefully in next couple of months. The fuel used here is plutonium oxide, uranium oxide, because this fuel we are quite familiar with based on our experience in the first stage reactors, as well as internationally. There is a lot of information available on this. This fuel is being again fabricated by a BRC facility. All PFBR components, because again, fast reactors are not the reactors being used, deployed in the world. Very few countries. In fact, today, Russia is the only country having fast reactors at 2 locations. All other countries are going very slowly towards it. But if nuclear power has to succeed, everybody has to one day get into the fast reactor mode, or at least burn their plutonium. Otherwise, they'll have difficulty. So we are in fact leading the world into this area, and all equipment is made by Indian industry for this reactor, and that has been a very big challenge to make sodium pumps, to make the materials in India. Again, our own people, Nuclear Fuel Complex and Government of India, Medhani has been making materials for us. So it has been a very successful work. The fast reactor fuel reprocessing is also developed. And in fact, FBTR, fast breeder test reactor, is already using this reactor fuel cycle. They are reprocessing, they are reusing, refabricating. All that is happening already. But that is carbide. Now we are shifting to oxide, and the plan is ready. The plant is under construction for fast reactor fuel cycle. So no more mining is required for feeding fuel to second stage of reactors. I think I will now move to the future, which is for the young people to handle. And the future, we said, the second stage future plan is that we will make large number of fast breeder reactors. And the immediate plan is, as we gain experience with PFBR, which is the prototype fast breeder reactor for this prototype will give us a lot of experience in design. It has given construction, commissioning, and during commissioning and operation, we will know where to improve. A lot of feedback has already been accumulated and more will come. That will be used for making 2 more fast breeder reactors at the same site, FBR1 and FBR2. Thereafter, the intention is, the plan is to shift to metallic fuel, and IGCAR as well as BRC has been aggressively working on developing metallic fuel. Considerable work has been done. In fact, I've been frequently visiting this part of the work, because this will permit much higher multiplier plutonium, and therefore second stage can progress faster. A lot of experiments have been done in core. Metallic fuel has been manufactured with different concentrations. They started with natural uranium fuel loaded in FBTR, then some plutonium. So it has been going on, and very successfully it is being done. And as we mentioned, towards the end of the second stage, we will be introducing thorium and producing uranium-233. When we have sufficient FBRs, we are met the expectations of the country towards power. That is the time we should be shifting to thorium. And thorium introduction in the blanket, in the boundary of the fast breeder reactors will produce uranium-233, a very interesting material. It holds the similar properties either you use in first stage reactors or second stage reactors. Thorium in its natural form consists of almost thorium-232. It has small traces of thorium-230, but its occurrence on Earth's crust is nearly 3 times that of uranium. And we have plenty of thorium in this country today. As Indian Rare Earths is handling the various rare earths, we are accumulating thorium today in that process. A lot of thorium is getting accumulated. And we have already gained a lot of experience, radiation experience on this. We have designed fuel for PHWRs with thorium bundles. And by now, 220 fuel bundles using thorium have been irradiated to their design power level, design burn-up levels, as we mentioned here, 13,000 megawatt days per ton in Kakrapar, Kaiga, and RAPP2, and RAPS 3 and 4. And they can be used anytime again. This has proven our design capability, our understanding of the physics, our understanding of even reprocessing. Thorium was also loaded in Cyrus reactors, and that also has been reprocessed. Thorium is actually a designer's welcome material because it has better performance characteristics. It's a higher melting point, better thermal conductivity, lower fission gas release, and so on, and better chemical stability. It has good physics characteristics as well. The potential for achieving near breeding, as we said, in both type of reactors. Near breeding means it will actually breed less than plutonium, but it will 1:1 ratio can be maintained. Whatever reactors you start will keep on sustaining. So that is where we say that thorium will give us energy security for centuries to come. That much thorium we have. But there is a problem. The problem is that its reprocessing is to be done differently. Because it is chemically more stable, it gives some difficulties in reprocessing. But again, coming to Dr. Basu, he insisted that whatever fuel we have irradiated thorium, we must reprocess it. It has been reprocessed. So we know the process today. But the difficulty is that the uranium-233, which is produced, is associated with uranium-232 in a very small quantity, negligible quantity. But this uranium-232 is radioactive and produces gamma radiations of very high energy, making it difficult, uranium-233, to be handled in a very difficult manner and under shielded conditions remotely, unlike plutonium. And that is the difficulty which is holding back. But internationally, it is said that uranium-232 makes the thorium fuel and use it because you have to handle that radiation which uranium-232 gives. But then to use in a power plant with today's technology, we can develop the technology. There is no end, difficulty in that. But economically, or whether we'll be able to compete with the present power generation modes, you can handle the fuel remotely, shielded containers during fabrication, till you load back in the reactor. The whole process will have to be done shielded and without directly looking at it. It will add to the cost of fueling. And therefore, thorium use will need different type of reactors if we have to do it today. Or we'll have to wait till the power demand is so high that you can sell the power by having all such facilities. There's a solution which is under a lot of debate internationally, molten salt reactors. Don't fabricate the fuel. Use it in the molten state, the fluorides, along with lithium fluoride and other fluoride combination, so that you don't have to fabricate. And you can reprocess it online. This is a scientific concept, but a small facility was set up in US long back. And they know it was operating also very well, but for some reason it was given up. But the disadvantages are that since you are using fluorides, salts, and at very high temperatures, the temperatures could be 600 degrees Celsius or more. The corrosion problems, the materials have to be found out. Again, today, the materials also are available and being tested. In fact, BRC is working on all this. They are testing such materials. They are developing such materials. And the other part is maintenance of the equipment. The same fluoride active material will pass through various pumps and valves and all that. So if you have to maintain them, You will have to develop the techniques. We have developed techniques for fast reactors where sodium has to be cleaned and maintenance is complicated compared to what we use in water reactors. So the technologies for the third stage are still under debate. Which reactors will be used? If we use the conventional reactors, the fuel loading part, fuel processing and loading part will become quite costly. And therefore, it will not be able to compete. The other way is we use molten salt reactors. But the country needs, or the now if you want to say net zero, it is not only electricity net zero. You need fuel, which is used conventionally in your cars, vehicles, and steel plants and aluminum making locations, and so many places where you are using conventional fuels of oil and coal. This needs to be replaced by hydrogen. And that today is being proposed to be done by alkaline electrolysis, which is a very inefficient way of producing hydrogen. You are grossly underutilizing the fuel. Nuclear power offers this option of high temperature reactors. Molten salt is one. There can be another high temperature reactors which is being developed. Even the fast reactors with addition of small amount of heat can do this job. So we have ready options on which we should develop and support hydrogen production without going through the electrolysis route. And again, a lot of work is going on, R&D is going on in BRC on this subject. Well, the last topic, which was minimizing life of long life waste. The nuclear waste, let me come to that. And this is where Dr. Basu, again, when we started working, the nuclear waste is very small in quantity because the fuel itself is, say, 0.7%. Here I have used an example of Kudamkulam 1 and 2 fuel, which is 4% enriched. So when you take it out and process it, it will have a lot of unused uranium and some amount of plutonium, which you are going to reuse. The waste is very small in quantity terms, but highly radioactive. There is a small component which is long-lived radioactive waste. Some isotopes are long-lived wastes. Compared to coal or any other process, this waste is a million times less. But it is very long life. And that is where the challenge was posed in 2009. I think Dr. Grover will remember that we discussed this issue in a DA committee. And we said, no, this needs to be solved. There are scientific work going on around the world. Why we can't do it? And that is where, again, the Neptunium-237, this is a list of long-lived isotopes. This is the longest life, but quantity-wise negligible. In 1 ton of fuel, only small 0.43 kg. Very small quantity. And these are all chemically separatable. You don't have to do any special work. If you can separate out plutonium, if you can separate out uranium from the spent fuel chemically, why not this? And this was the challenge, and this was done. That is the strength of DAE, that today we are having capability to separate out this. Partitioning and transmutation of waste is our next level. Partitioning technology is already in hand. And the integrated reprocessing plants, which Dr. Basu had worked on, has this inbuilt feature. It is being added, but a demonstration plant, engineering plant is already operating. Now, when you separate out this waste, long-lived waste, which is very small in quantity, and you accumulate over the time, this waste can be transmuted or burnt, and its life can be reduced. And for that, you need fast neutrons. Fast neutrons are available in fast reactors anyway, but you can make a source which can provide you fast neutrons. That is accelerated driven systems. Accelerators which can give you fast neutrons can be used to burn this waste, to transmute this waste. And accelerators, working on accelerators has been another, I think, priority of Dr. Basu. When I was in training school, accelerators were taught in half a day, and we visited the accelerator in BRC. And today there is a full-fledged course in this accelerators. And we are quite advanced. I remember that 2 days before he was to retire, he made sure that the 30 MeV cyclotron at VCC becomes operational and regulators are giving clearance. I was the regulatory body. So 2 days before he made sure. In fact, 1 year before he announced that all these boxes which are lying in the corridors will be today, within 1 year will be erected and operating. And today that is operating. So on accelerators, actually we are quite advanced. And the target is to make a 1 GeV proton accelerator, which can ultimately, effectively burn this waste, or we have the fast reactors, so both. Now coming to this, so what will happen? What is happening today? See, rest of the world is storing this waste as open cycle. Large amount of waste which coming, and the quantity, the fuel quantity which comes out, we know that inside embedded waste is negligible, but the total fuel is being stored. And when people speak so much that Germany has given up, is giving up, is because of this. They do not know how to handle this waste. And that is where Dr. Bhabha started. Before he started nuclear power program, he said how to handle the waste should be our priority. And most of the countries of the world are not doing it. And that is what is restricted today, including US. Yeah, they had planned to store it like this. They keep on discussing, make committees which say, no, you must reprocess, but they are holding back politically. But we in India actually reprocess. And we started reprocessing way back before nuclear power plants were made. And that small dot shows the minor actinides we are separating out, which will be consumed once the quantity is sufficient. And the rest of the waste will be having a life which is about 300 years. So we are, I think, leading the world when it comes to radioactive waste handling. And the quantity of waste which our waste division projects is for the full family. They say if you live for 100 years, the family lives for 100 years, the waste is 70 grams for you. So that is what is our objective, that we don't leave much waste for the future generations. The thorium is going to last much longer than 300 years. And thorium, incidentally, will not produce this long-lived waste. So by the time nuclear power program is still running, we would have consumed most of the long-lived waste. And accelerator-driven system, I think proton accelerator I've already mentioned, target the lead or lead bismuth, and then we'll produce fast neutrons and plenty of fast neutrons, much more than what the fast reactors will give. So it will be effectively 6 times more effective. A single accelerator-driven system, subcritical system, will be 6 times more effective than one fast reactor. So it can burn waste for many, many reactors. So this is the accelerator-driven system. Well, this is what Dr. Bhabha said in 1960. Radioactive material and sources of radiation should be handled in atomic energy established in a manner which not only ensures that no harm can come to workers in the establishment or anyone else, but also in an exemplary manner, so as to set a standard which other organizations in the country may be asked to emulate. This was his target. And this has been there right from the beginning, from Tarapur days or from research reactor days. There used to be a safety review process within the establishment. When I joined, it was Safety Review Committee, DAE Safety Review Committee, which later was reshaped as Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, which has all the powers under the Act today to handle this. And it regulates by issuing the question paper. Their codes are known, what you have to do, standards are known. It gives also the guidelines how you can do this. You can choose other options. It reviews and assesses the hazards and whether all the hazards are safely covered. Then it issues licenses and monitors. The mission of AERB is to ensure that the use of ionizing radiation and nuclear energy in India does not cause undue risk to health and environment. And the health physics from India, health physicists from India, Dr. Ganguly, for example, is internationally renowned. I had the opportunity of meeting people in Vienna who will remember him. Very fondly, they will remember him. So that is the strength, again, initiated by Dr. Bhabha and implemented by the experts which he chose and multiplied. The chain is continuing. The beauty of Indian nuclear power program is that it has been continuous. It never had a discontinuity anywhere, neither in design, nor in research, nor in material development, anywhere in power generation. And therefore, this expertise has not been lost. The chain has been multiplying. The next expert, I find today, the younger people, when I interact with them in various groups, I find they are much more capable than what I was. And that is the strength of the system, that it has been continuous and the next generation is doing better. So a journey required to continue into future in an accelerated mode, that support to net zero. Well, that is objective, my dear young friends, for you. And I know that you will meet it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Bharadwaj sir, for this insightful talk. The DAE family has indeed put in years of hard work to gain expertise and bring the status of our nuclear power program to the present form. And I'm sure the future of DAE and our nation would indeed be bright and full of energy, that is nuclear energy. With this, I would now request Honorable Vice Chancellor to present our speaker a token of appreciation in the form of a souvenir. We are glad. Thank you so much, sir, for being our guest and delivering the lecture. As we move towards the end of the program, may I now request Professor P.C. Selvin to propose the vote of thanks.
So good afternoon to all present here and who has joined online for this program. So I thank our chief guest, Sri S.A. Bharadwaj, former chairman Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, for accepting our invitation and delivering an extraordinary and informative lecture on Indian nuclear power program, a journey from the past to future. So in his talk, the very beginning itself, he has mentioned that it's going to be full information for the youngsters to know about the entire past, present, and future. Yes, sir, it was justified. It's a great news, and all the informations have been covered in your lecture, starting from the Atmanirbhar Bharat about nuclear power programs, Baba's views, milestones of the atomic energy in India, and a brief overview of the nuclear power programs, its beginning, and about the establishment of lot number of establishment like Nuclear Fuel Corporation, Electronic Corporation of India, and the heavy water and other products, and the establishment of the pressurized heavy water reactors and the safety standards issued by IAEA, and about the indigenous programs that have been developed. All these things have been covered. And we mentioned all about the present developments and the future about the fast blooded reactors. Very many fine informations for the youngsters to know that even whenever the other part of the world could not think about this reprocessing, but India could think and work towards minimizing the nuclear waste. And mentioned about so lot informations about the nuclear waste and the partitioning and transmutation of waste, the waste management. So the really good source of information for all the youngsters. And we are mentioning that in terms of the fast breeder reactors, it is a real good information that India is leading the world. That's a great information to all the youngsters to know about the Indian nuclear power programs. Thank you very much for making enlightening all the participants with the past, present, and future of the atomic energy programs. And in various places, we have mentioned the role played by Dr. Baba, along with the great scientific visionary, Dr. Basu's involvement in various programs. In this scenario, I would like to mention, it was mentioned by Dr. Tyagi in his introduction, the only program, nuclear energy program, is the way to have net zero programs. So here I am having a small information about the solar energy. People are talking about this. The average lifespan of solar panel is 25 to 30 years. from 2030 to 2060, we need to have 9.8 million metric tons of solar panel waste is expected. A study found that the solar panel create 300 times more toxic waste per unit of energy than nuclear power plants. So I think India is leading this role. With this, sir, really, we are thankful to you for enlightening us with a great lecture program about the past, present, and future of this nuclear program. So I thank Mrs. Debrati Basu and sister-in-law of Dr. Basu, Mrs. Dole Basu, and Mrs. Manasi Chakravarti for creating this program today. I thank the former Atomic Energy Commission Chairman Dr. Chidambaram, Dr. A.K. Anand, Dr. R.B. Grover for joining today's program. I thank all the experts and scientists from NPCIL for joining today's program. I think we are having an expert today, Dr. Dos from RRCAD, and an expert from BECC also to join this program. I thank Professor Tyagi for proposing the formal welcome address. I thank our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Professor Kamachi Mudali, for his introductory remarks and briefing the excellent work carried out by Dr. Basu in promoting DA activities and also introducing the chief guest. I thank all our directors of CISOCC for attending the program through online mode. I thank all our deans, academic deans, student affairs, nodal officers, and associate deans from our central office for joining the program. I thank all our HBNA office staff for joining the program. I thank all our faculty and especially students of HBNI for joining this program. I thank our IT team for making the audio video arrangements. I thank Dr. Rachana Agarwal for presenting a with clear MOC. I thank one and all for joining Dr. Sekhar Basu Memorial Program today. Thank you one and all. Shall we rise for the national anthem, please?
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मागे गाहे तव जय गाथा गण गण मंगल दायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे जय